personally, I'm a perfectionist and I am a control freak a little bit, and I like everything to be set up in a certain way. I like everything to go according to how I plan it. And that's been something that I am praying to God that He helps me with. Um, and it's also been a personal conviction for me because I have to learn how to let God handle everything.
You are chosen for beautiful things, even.
Hey y'all. I'm so happy to be back from the new year and my break. It was a short break, but it was very much needed. Um, I know this podcast just started, but so much has been going on and trying to keep up on the back end, the back operations of the podcast. So that break was much needed, and I'm sure everybody else, those who've taken a break for the holidays and everything else and welcoming the new year, I hope you guys were able to take that break that you needed as well. But before we get into it, welcome, welcome those who are returning and those who are new here. Thank you for tuning into Evolve Podcast. I am your host, Cameron or Cece. And I'm so excited that you decided to click on the video. So let's get started. As I was saying, being able to take that break that I needed for um, the New Year's and welcoming everybody, and welcoming the new year and spending time with family and taking a break from social media, it was so needed. It allowed me to be able to really just reset and gather my life. And that's actually what I wanted to talk about today. I feel like God has put that on my heart, especially with welcoming the new year, like 2025. I feel like this is going to be such a good year. I kind of, shared a little bit about what I went through last year. It wasn't the best year for me, but I'm so thankful I made it. I didn't know how I was going to make it through, but God. So, I'm so excited for what this year is going to bring me and my family. I'm so excited for what it's going to bring to the kingdom of Christ. I'm just excited. I just know that God has great things in store. And um, again, that's kind of what I wanted to go over today is just um, resetting in organizing your life, essentially. Planning ahead for the new year is so important to do so. And not only is it important to do so for yourself, but also to actually include God in your plans. God is a God of order. He is a God of organization. He is the best at it. I'm actually in Numbers right now. I'm reading Numbers, and uh, I'm very far along. I'm on chapter 21, but it reminds me of chapter I believe it's chapter 10, where God is um, dividing up the tribes into where they're supposed to be, and he's creating the divisions of the camp before they head into the promised land. And I feel like uh that is such an important factor to notate. God didn't just allow them to go set out into their journey in disorganization like he did when he first got them out of Egypt. This time he allowed them to be in a he set them in a certain order, and he made sure they knew each of their responsibilities in their division before going into the promised land. And of course we know that they didn't end up going there until like 38 years, 38, 40 years later. But that's is besides the point. The point I'm trying to make is God is a God of order, and before he wants to take us somewhere, he always has certain things in order before before we get to the assignment, the season, the final destination where he wants us to be. And I think that's so important, especially with this upcoming year. And that also reminds me of, again, how God is so meticulous. He's so detailed. Look at how he created us, the universe, in a particular order, day by day, 7 days, 6 days. He had to do certain things before he was able to be in completion. And I just think that's so great, because there's so many things that I want to do. There's so many things that I have planned, and considering God, making sure my plans align with his is so important. And I actually got to um just to tell you guys a little bit about my new year, I actually got to spend time with God. I literally walked into the new year with God, okay? Like, church was amazing. I don't know if anybody else has night service, that's what we call it. Welcoming the new year with God and just praising him. Like, it was just so beautiful. And we've actually been doing that since I was a child. Like I mentioned before, I grew up in the church, so that's always been like our tradition for us. Um, and yeah, it was a great experience. I enjoyed going home to my home church and actually spending that time with God and the church community. It was just amazing. I enjoyed my new year. I hope everybody else did as well. I hope you guys got to spend time with God. I hope you guys got to relax and really just take the time to again reset and prepare yourselves for this upcoming year. I hope you guys' new year was amazing. Please feel free to mention how it was down in the comments. Um I would love to hear you guys' stories about what happened. So yeah, I just wanted to start it off by saying that God is a God of order. So this was a verse that I actually want to share with you guys. It's 1 Corinthians 14:33. For God is not a God of disorder, but of peace, as in all the congregations of the Lord's people. I love that verse, not only because, I mean, just a little background on this verse. It was actually a rebuke to the Corinthians. I don't know if I said that right. It was actually a rebuke to the current Corinths about um, how they worshipped, and again, for God is not a God of disorder, but of peace, as in all of the congregations of the Lord's people. I love that verse because it really speaks to how God's shown us in his word time and time again, not with just this verse, but he's shown us time and time again how he is a God of order. So any time that you feel confusion or any time that you feel not at peace, just know that God is not in it. God is not in that, because he is a God of, again, order, and he brings peace to us. He doesn't bring confusion. He doesn't bring anything that makes us feel worried or anxious or all of those things. It's sort of how you think of the fruits of the Spirit. He brings love, He brings kindness, He brings compassion, all of those things. And I know I'm getting a little sidetracked, but I really just wanted to talk about that verse because it's a verse I really like. And it reminds me when I feel like flustered and all over the place and like I don't have my life together. It reminds me how God is a God of order and of peace. And it also allows me to um, tell myself that anytime I feel that way, I can just run to God and He will set things in order. Again, this year is about focusing on what God has for us. I know for me personally, I really want to focus on what God has for me and um, being aligned to His will over my life is first and foremost. I don't ever want to be outside of His will. Not only this week, but also last week, I've taken the time to really just sit down and write out my goals that I have for this year. Like, really just take the time to ask God, what is it that He wants me to do? What is it that He wants me to see? And how can I be of service to Him and His kingdom? How can I serve other people? How can I be a living vessel and grow the kingdom of Christ? So that's what I've been doing this past week, and I gotta say it's been a lot, but I really enjoy the reset. I really enjoy just refocusing my mind on Him because during these holidays, it's been a lot. Not only has last year been a lot, but those last couple months in November and December has been a lot getting, ready for the holidays and stuff like that. So just being able to reset at the beginning of this year and welcoming 2025 with total abundance has been very refreshing, and I feel so renewed in my spirit. So, when it comes to getting aligned with God and including Him in your plans, this has been something that I personally struggled with. I feel like I've gotten a lot better, but I feel like I'm still struggling with because personally I'm a perfectionist and I am a control freak a little bit, and I like everything to be set up in a certain way. I like everything to go according to how I plan it. And that's been something that I am praying to God that He helps me with. Um, and it's also been a personal conviction for me because I have to learn how to let God handle everything. I have to learn how to let God do what He does. And He does it the best. And that's ordering my steps. And again, it's been hard for me because I'm very particular of how I like to do things. And I think God has definitely put me in positions to where I have to let Him be in control. I have to let go of trying to control certain things in my life. And I've honestly, as I'm growing with Him and as I'm letting Him take control of the things in my life, taking control of my goals, and be first in all that I do, um, I definitely see that there's a lot of weight that comes off of me. And I can admit, although I'm a perfectionist or I do like to have certain things done a certain way, it can be stressful. And I think that's one thing that God has wanted me to realize that I don't have to do it alone. I don't have to do it by myself. He is wanting to order my steps. He is wanting to be the one to lead me and direct me. And that's really what I want him to do this year, is just lead me. I don't want to do anything if God isn't in it. I don't want to do anything if God doesn't give me the go. So I think it's very important to keep that in mind. And again, invite him while you're writing down your goals, writing down your plans. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with doing that. I think it's important. Like Habakkuk 2:2 says, I believe it's Habakkuk 2:2. Don't quote me. Let me make sure. Is it Habakkuk 2:2? I know my verses, y'all. Yeah. Like Habakkuk 2:2 says, write down the vision and make it plain. He wants us to write it down. That's what his word says. There's nothing wrong with writing down your goals. There's nothing wrong with having vision, but make sure that you are aligned with God. Make sure that the goals you write down aligns with the assignment that he gave you, aligns with the season you're in. He could be having you in a waiting season and you're trying to get things done. So that's something that I've had to learn. Again, I'm still learning. I'm not totally 100 in that area where I have let go, and I know that's something that not many people are willing to say, but I'm willing to say it. I am trying my hardest to surrender fully to God in a way where he is first and nothing else come before it, if that makes sense. I think when it comes to uh again, planning out this year and what you want to accomplish, keeping God first and focusing on what he wants you to do is going to be the way to success. It's going to be the way that you fulfill what he actually has for you. It's going to be the only way. You can write down all your goals and stuff as much as you want, but if they're not aligned to God and what he has for you, it's not gonna it's not gonna work out the way you want it to. That's all I'm gonna say. So when it comes to resetting and really just taking the time to organize your life like I'm trying to do, I think it's never too late. Don't think that you have to do it at the beginning of the year. Don't even think you had to do it in December. It's never too late to get aligned with God. He's waiting on you. Let's I want to first say that. Um, but I feel like as you're organizing and as you're planning and as you're goal setting, um, I think it's important to also be organized, if that makes sense. And I wanted to recommend Tiphani Montgomery. I don't know if anybody is familiar with her, prophetess Tiphani Montgomery. Um, she has a 2025 purpose planning um, session where, she actually goes over how you can goal set and do those things. So she actually has a video where you can do those things, and she actually gives you tips and stuff. So I highly recommend that video. I actually have it down in the description box below. I'll have a link to that video. It's a really good video. You can watch it with your friends. You can do it with your partner. I highly recommend. Before I end this video, I actually have some tips of my own that I recommend. Um, these are just personal that has helped me throughout the years and how I've seen God work through the goals that I've set throughout the years. I feel like they're pretty helpful. So feel free to try them out if it works for you. If it works for you, if it doesn't, then there's so many other ways to get yourself organized and in order. So the first recommendation is getting a digital planner, or that's just a personal option for me. Like, everything is on my iPad. I love my iPad. It's not an idol. Don't come for me. I promise you it's not. But it really keeps me organized as a wife, as a mother, as a daughter, as an entrepreneur. It really just keeps me organized and allows me to get things done. Or a physical planner, you know. Um, I use this again for everything, to plan out my day sometimes, to plan out my week schedule, to plan out the set time I have for God, to take notes, Bible notes. I use a planner for everything. It just really keeps me organized. So I highly recommend a digital planner. If you are using a digital planner, I recommend using GoodNotes. I've heard of another. I've heard of another planning app. Starts with an N. I can't remember what it's called, but I use GoodNotes, and I feel like it's the best one out there. Correct me if I'm wrong. Feel free to share any other planning apps that you know of. All ears. But for right now, I use GoodNotes, and it's been really helpful keeping everything organized. Um, the second the second tip I recommend when it comes to staying organized is, of course, through prayer and fasting. And making sure you're always aligned with God is through prayer and fasting. There's no other way. Of course, there's His Word, of course. But I feel like through prayer and fasting, you'll grow so much closer to Him. You'll learn so much about God. And yeah, so prayer and fasting, I would definitely start incorporating that in your routine. It should be a part of your lifestyle. This is not something to play with. This is very sacred. So prayer and fasting is a must, in my opinion. Another recommendation I would say is to declutter unnecessary things while you're taking the time to goal set, and while you're taking the time to really figure out what it is you're called to do. Decluttering stuff from the past, maybe old habits, old things. Decluttering is going to be a way to bring in what God has for you, and bringing in the new, basically. So um while I do this simultaneously, whether it's my clothes, whether it's habits, again, old habits, bad habits, you're always trying to um you can't bring in something new. You can't make room for what God has for you if you still have old stuff going on, whether internally or physically. So decluttering unnecessary things is another tip that I have for you guys. Another one is start incorporating time to yourself. I feel like a huge part of resetting is just having that time for yourself. Self care is so important to me. I can't imagine not having a self care day, and that's technically, my Sundays, like the day of rest. I use that as my self care day to really just reset, get myself realigned, and prepare for a new week. So I would start incorporating self care days, and setting that time aside. Or it could be your self development days, really taking the time to improve yourself. And for some people, that is, their Bible study, their time with God. But for me personally, I feel like my time with God is for Him. That's not for me. My time with God is to do whatever He has called me to do, really understand His word. And it's all about Him. It's not about me in that session. So that's why I feel like self-care, um, for for me personally, is something totally separate and should be a totally different thing. But for some people, again, it's their Bible study or their time with God. To each their own. Um, and that also ties into my second. I mean, my other tip is having nightly resets with God is everything. Making sure you start the day with God and end the night with God. I promise you, it will change your life. I promise you. I'm not just giving these tips out. I do it. I actually do it. And there are some days where I'm really tired and I don't want to, but pushing yourself to and really trying to start the day and end the night with God, it's going to make a difference in your life. I promise you. Like, whether it's just talking to Him, praying, um, reading your Bible, ending the night with a few verses that you want to put on your heart as you go to sleep, it makes a world of a difference. I highly recommend. And the last tip I want to share with you guys, and it's kind of a no brainer, it's kind of common sense to some, is allowing God to lead. I know I shared in the beginning a little bit about how I've struggled with this in releasing control and totally surrendering to God and His will over my life. It's been a struggle. It's not easy. It's hard. I'll be the first to admit it. But allowing God to lead this year and the many more years to come is going to be the best thing that ever happened to you. It's going to be the biggest game changer in your life that you could ever have. A quote I heard from somebody, they said the more like Him we become, the more orderly our lives will be, because He is a God of order. And I believe that full-heartedly. Like, as we grow um in our relationship with God and following His examples that He's given us in the Bible, following His examples that He's given us through living vessels here on earth, through our church community, we are able to have more order in our lives. And I I personally believe that as you again grow closer to Him, as you continue to pray and fast and worship and praise and read His Bible and again draw closer to Him, you will see more order in your life. Because again, God is a God of order. You will start to see a shift in your life where it's no stress, no anxiety, no confusion, but balance, peace. And I really hope that that's what this year brings you guys. Not only me, not only my family, but I really hope this year is a year of peace, as it should be every year. But I truly feel like this year is going to be a revival. And I'm so excited to see what God has in store for us. I'm so excited to see what He has in store for me and you. And I'm just excited, you guys. I can't imagine what it's going to feel like him to see Him fulfill what He has promised me. And I hope the same for you guys. I pray that you guys have a great year, and I pray that you stay following the Evolve podcast and be a part of the community. And I'm so excited. Till next time. Bye.
You are chosen for beauty.